Tottenham have been quite lacklustre in the transfer window so far, not yet making a high-profile signing. A signing that many Tottenham fans want is someone who's going to come in and just really dominate this Tottenham side and take us back up the Premier League where we belong. And it looks like Thomas Frank is going to get his wish, a high-profile signing that is really going to be a fundamental player for Tottenham Hotspur. But today on the talkSPORT Spurs YouTube channel, I'm going to be proving that Mohammed Kudus is a great signing for Spurs, unlike what we saw at West Ham United. But before we go any further, if you are new to the channel, then leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also let me know in the comments down below. Will we get the best out of Kudus? So this video comes off the back of, many debates and arguments I've seen about Kudus, because many are arguing that we haven't seen the best of him and there's still a lot of potential there, while a lot of West Ham fans, and some of you may be watching this now who are West Ham fans, are arguing that he isn't good enough. He is not going to hit that potential because he hasn't done it at West Ham United. But today I'm going to suggest that that's a load of baloney, because I think Mohammed Kudus is just such a stellar player who just needs to be in a team where he can thrive. And I'm just going to set my argument out because I feel like it is a no-brainer for Tottenham to be targeting this man and probably signing him. I think the signing is due to happen in the next few days. We just got to, cross the T's, dot some I's. He really wants to come to Spurs, and I think he's making the right choice first and foremost. He's been linked with us, he's been linked with Newcastle United, he's been linked with Chelsea, he's also been linked with Saudi Arabia, and I think Tottenham makes most sense out of all these because he's going to be guaranteed game time. That's what you pick over Chelsea. Chelsea, you go there and it is pot luck between you starting and you're not starting. So I think he's making the right choice there, even if Noni Madueke does leave Chelsea to go to Arsenal. Saudi Arabia, I feel like that is a graveyard for your career. We've seen John Duran now leave after 6 months there and go to Turkey, which sums it all up really. If he wants to go for a payday, then fair enough, but he's 24 years old, he wants to play Champions League football, and he will get that at Tottenham Hotspur. And Newcastle, possible. They're looking for a right winger, aren't they? But I think the Newcastle project is a weird one. I've seen a lot of people questioning that, whether it's the right step for certain players, and I feel like there's a big overhaul that's needed there. A lot of ageing players, a lot of squad depth issues, but yeah, I can see why he's picked us over a Newcastle United. But now going on to the argument of West Ham, and if you look at Kudus' numbers, he's not really hit the heavy heights in 2 years at the London Stadium. He could have done a lot better. And then when you look at how good he is on videos and highlight reels, what you see is a really good dribbler who can drive from deep and make stuff happen with his electric pace. But what we sort of want him to unlock is more assists, more goals, which, as I say, we haven't seen thus far at West Ham United. But I feel like we need to, take a step back and actually look at the player and the profile that can go into a Thomas Frank side and actually hit the ground running. Because if you look at players that Thomas Frank has managed before, in the forward line, you've had Ben Rama, Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, and Buemo, Visser, lots of different sort of players. And Thomas Frank gets the most out of his wingers. He likes a winger who is fast, who has got that pace, is a good dribbler, and has an eye for a goal. And I think Kudus has an eye for a goal. He just hasn't really had the confidence. When you look at how West Ham have been over the last, couple of seasons, they have had a lot of different managers playing a lot of different styles, counter-attacking and, not really making the most out of some of their top talent, unless it was Jarrod Bowen. You've got to look at how many strikers and forwards that West Ham have had, and they haven't really, hit the heavy heights. And Jarrod Bowen has basically carried that West Ham side for the last few seasons. But, we didn't see it under Lopetegui, Graham Potter, even David Moyes. I feel like West Ham United is a bit of a basket case when it comes to that attacking talent. You don't really see the most and the best out of some of those players, whereas I think at Tottenham, he's going to thrive because Thomas Frank will get the best out of him. He will put him into a system that does fit him. He can play in a multitude of positions, like we saw from him when he was at Ajax. The player that surprised and shocked many, and he got that move to the Premier League, and he wants to push himself. As I say, he's 24, he wants to play in the Champions League for Tottenham. He wants to really secure a big move and be playing regular football at the top level, which he thinks he can do at Tottenham, European Cup winners and all that. But I guess what you then have to say is, does it make sense for all parties? Does it actually add something to Tottenham? I think it does. Does it add something to Kudus' career? I think it does as well. I do actually think he is a really solid addition to this Tottenham side. I think he is something we don't have. Brennan Johnson, he's not really a dribbler, is he? But he can, get an eye for a goal, and maybe that's better. You've got young wingers in Tell and Odebear who are good dribblers as well, but, have they got that end product? I think Kudus gives a lot of competition, and, he could even play in the 10, when Kulusevski or, Maddison, they've got bad injury records now. I think he offers something a bit different, and I just don't think that after one poor season at a club that should write off a player. I think, the fee we're going to pay is not going to be too extortionate, and you've got to look at the market anyway. Like, a lot of players are going for tons of money that they're not actually worth, but that is the going rate. We haven't signed a player from West Ham since 2011. You're going to have to pay money to get that player. And I've seen a lot of West Ham fans arguing, we don't want him, we want to get rid of him, we're keen to sell. You're keen to sell because you need to sell. There's a difference between wanting and needing. You need to sell to buy. You're not going to sell Bowen because he's sort of signed a lifetime contract at the club, unofficially. And you've not really got any other sellable assets that people will want. And Kudus, you can tell he's been eyed up by different clubs. Even Arsenal fans wanted him a little while ago. So I think it is quite a statement signing. And I think hopefully it's the first of many for Spurs, because Spurs really need to now go on and really dominate the market and bring in all those key positions, because I do think that Tottenham have a good squad. Like, if you look at it, when they're all fully fit, they can all offer something that Thomas Frank will love. And I just think Kudus is the perfect Thomas Frank winger. I feel like he could be his Mbuemo, but not cost 250k a week in wages, which is what United are offering, which I think is absolutely balmy. But I like Kudus. I think I am a bit on the fence of it still, in the sense of, can he actually prove the doubters wrong? I think there is a lot of question marks over whether he can replicate that form. But I think he's a well-driven individual who will want to hit the ground running at Spurs and really just achieve all those goals that he wants to get. And another thing that's quite positive is he's not going to AFCON this year. Obviously, AFCON happens halfway through the season, which is a big spanner in the works for a lot of different African players. You've got to think of Mo Salah for Egypt. He leaves Liverpool for a couple of months, and is not really ideal. But Ghana didn't qualify, which was what I've been reading. So that is a positive take. So yeah, I'm all for this. I think it is a good idea. Tottenham just have to get it done and signed, sealed and delivered.
West Ham have told Tottenham to get real with their Mohammed Kudus bid after there was a trophy clause included. What's going on here? Can you explain it to me?
Well, this is classic Daniel Levy negotiating, really. So the upfront offer is worth a guaranteed £50 million. I think all the way along, West Ham have maintained they want at least 60. He's got an £85 million release clause, Kudus, in his contract. They know that no one will trigger that. But the add-ons, as you say, as I understand it, were dependent on winning the Premier League title, which Tottenham have never done, winning the Champions League. They've only ever played one Champions League final. So I think David Sullivan has said to his Spurs counterpart, come on, let's have realistic add-ons and maybe we can talk. There is a reluctance from West Ham to sell Kudus to Tottenham because they know that will go down badly with the fan base. But the options are limited. There's talk of Chelsea, but obviously they've got Jamie Gittins now. Are they really going to spend £60 million on Kudus? I'm not sure. They've got João Pedro as well, who can play in a variety of positions across the front line. So it does seem that Tottenham are in the box seat. Kudus has made it pretty clear that he wants to make that move, but there's still some negotiating to be done.
Realistically, do you think Spurs will actually sign him?
Probably, because I think West Ham need to sell. They spent a lot of money last summer. Not many of those signings have worked out. The Declan Rice money is gone. They've got a new manager in Graham Potter who wants funds to bring in players of his own. And I think all the time the betting charges hang over Lucas Paquetá, and we hope to get an outcome on that soon as to whether he'll be banned or found innocent. I think Kudus is their most sellable asset.
But let me know in the comments down below, do you like the idea of Kudus? Do you think he fits this Thomas Frank Tottenham system? Or do you think we should be signing someone else? We've been linked with Eze, we were linked with Mbuemo. Should we have gone for someone like that instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, hope you've enjoyed. Up the Spurs. I'll see you guys pretty soon. Bye.